Hey everybody, welcome into this edition of Phil's Tax Hacks and Other Retirement Facts with CPA and personal financial specialist Phil Putney. I'm your co-host Mark Killian. Let's get started. And this week we're going to be talking about 4 milestones that say you're ready for retirement. But first, let's welcome Phil in. What's going on, buddy? How you doing?
I'm doing great. Enjoying the summer, springtime weather now. So
yeah,
allergies are in full effect. So I know it's here. So
yeah, when your face is falling off, you know what's going on.
Yeah, that's right. I thought I escaped it this year, but it just came a little later, I guess. I don't know. It's
everything about this year.
Never seem to get rid of it. Yeah.
Everything about this year is off kilter, so we're just going to roll with it. Yeah, we're
just one more thing to add to it.
Yeah, exactly. Well, we're going to jump right in this week because I got quite a bit I want to cover. So I saw this recent USA Today article, Phil, that outlined 4 financial milestones that should indicate whether or not you're ready for retirement. So I thought I'd get your take on these 4 and go through some of these and see what you think. So we're going to break them down. We'll go one by one, and we'll jump into these. And I want to mention, as we're doing these video and audio podcasts now, when you're listening to the show, whether it's in audio form or you're catching it in video form on YouTube, we'll constantly provide different information. There'll be stuff in the show links. We'll send out different things. So you'll be able to find out plenty of information, be able to reference the articles and things of that nature. So you'll just have to check the little boxes we'll have, like on YouTube under the show notes area, and so on and so forth. So we're breaking into all this new territory. We're doing all
That's
these
right.
new
technology.
So we've got it all out there for Phil. All right. So let's jump into this a little bit. So number 1, you can budget confidently. That's the first milestone that says that you're getting ready for retirement. So you can do that dreaded B word, but you can do it.
I was going to say, oh no, we mentioned the B word right off the bat.
But you can do it well. So what do you think about that?
Taking budgeting kind of with a grain of salt. I mean, really, to me, budgeting doesn't mean that you're, tracking every dollar that's coming in and going out. You've got the Excel spreadsheet or whatever it is going. And maybe you do. And if you do, that's great. Now, you really have full control of it. Budgeting really in retirement just means you've got an understanding of where the money is going and how much you really need. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's one of the first questions we always start with when we're working through a retirement plan for a client is, well, what do you need in retirement? And 9 times out of 10, people underestimate. I mean, it's just natural. You don't think you spend the amount of money you do. But the reality is when you really get down to understanding your current lifestyle, what you're expecting and you're comfortable with today, you're probably spending more than what you really think, so you got to figure out for you what that method is, whether it's, just setting a dollar amount, not necessarily tracking every dollar and where it went, or, whatever's comfortable for you, but just make sure you have a good handle on how much you really need and where it's going.
Yeah. And so you could take that, like you said, you could take budget how you want to take it. You could take it to the nth degree, or you could keep it very simple, but just understand that, what's coming in, what's going out, which I think we all need to do that through life anyway. And for the most part, obviously, if we're getting close to retirement, we've probably done a fairly decent job of doing that throughout our existence anyway, whether it was when we first got a real job, when we first got married, kids, whatever the case is, you kind of had to have some of those numbers in play. So that's number 1 on the 4 milestones. Number 2 is you have control over your spending. As a pre-retiree, definitely as a retiree, that certainly seems like that would be a good piece to have in check.
Yeah, and that's kind of the next stage is once you understand, okay, this is where the money's going and what those numbers are, maybe you need to cut back on certain areas, so you've got some understanding and some control over those. Because when you're working, it might not be as big of a deal, because, I know I've got bonuses coming or this or that. So it's a little easier to maybe overspend or not have as much control.
Right.
Because the future income that you're earning hopefully is going to help you take care of some of those expenses today. But once you're in retirement, typically what you have is what you have.
Right.
You might have if you're fortunate enough to have a pension, you've got a fixed income. Everyone's going to have some form of Social Security. So you'll have that as income. But then the assets you've accumulated are what you have.
I mean, Social Security COLAs, and a lot of these things just don't have much of that built into it.
Right. I mean, no, not at all. I mean, it's Social Security, the cost of living adjustment there it doesn't even keep up with inflation historically.
No.
So it's a little something to help, but it's never going to keep up with inflation.
And it's usually
most pensions have nothing.
Right.
You're at a level fixed income typically. So.
Yeah. And it usually seems like the Medicare side winds up taking whatever whatever COLA comes up. My mom was just telling me about this the last time. She's like, yeah, I finally got a small bump in Social Security, but the Medicare raise basically took that away. So.
Yeah. And Medicare's got an interesting little tidbit in it that it can't technically reduce your benefit. Mm-hmm. But all that means is that if the increase in Medicare this year is greater than the cost of living for Social Security, you're not going to see a reduction of your benefit. But then next year, if the cost of living for Social Security increases beyond the Medicare, they can use that to catch up. So it's not going to hit you in the 1 year, but they will get the money at some point.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So that's why, if there's been a delay in cost of living adjustments with Social Security, you might still not see that benefit just because probably Medicare has been increasing and they've not taken that additional premium.
Gotcha. Okay. So number two, then again, having control over our spending. And again, like almost any point in life, it's certainly a good thing to have control over. But definitely as a pre-retiree moving into that retirement stage. And as a pre-retiree, if we're having that conversation, we're probably making the most that we've ever made. We're in that point of our life. And so hopefully we are kind of now starting to really kind of get rid of some of that debt as we approach retirement, right? I mean, that's ideally what we would like to be doing, getting the car, finally, whatever it is, if that's paid off, making sure there's no high revolving credit, any of that stuff as we get closer to retirement.
Yeah. And that's one of the other things too, is making sure those type of debts are under control. Or if you have revolving debt, that there's a plan to eliminate them, because that's again back to the concept of, well, I can spend my future earnings. That's effectively what you're doing. And when you're in retirement, there is no future earnings. What you have, it's kind of locked in. Cars are one of the equations. I just build it into a budget, because you're going to need a car typically through retirement. So whether that means you're leasing it, or you're going to buy a car every 5 years. That's a discussion we'll always walk through with clients to make sure we understand what is your approach to vehicles. Is it, I need this new car each year or 5 years or 2 years, whatever it is, and let's build that into your budget. So
that's smart. Yeah.
But revolving debt beyond that's where the real problem comes into play, because that just means you're spending future earnings today.
Right. Well, because I think like, okay, I'm a pre-retiree, I'm going to want to fish whenever I get to retirement. So I want to go ahead and get that boat now while I'm still working, so that hopefully I can get it paid off. All those kinds of conversations that we need to be having with ourselves and with our advisors, right? So that we can make sure that they're understanding what's on the, don't spring a boat on Phil. He'll be like, what?
Oh, didn't I tell you I wanted to buy that, 60-foot, whatever it is.
Exactly. Or the big giant RV, Yeah. All right. So that's number two. So let's go to number three here on the 4 milestones that say you're ready for retirement. And that is that you have an emergency fund in place. And Phil, you and I have been talking about the emergency fund. It's one of the 4 pillars, I think, anyway, of just general kind of financial planning. Certainly COVID taught us that having an emergency fund is a wise thing to have.
Yeah, and I think that really kind of shifts as you're getting into retirement. The traditional concept of an emergency fund is having that 3 to 6 months. Some people are comfortable with 12 months sitting in available resources, cash, money in the bank to cover the loss of a job. Is kind of the general concept of it. Is if I lose my job, I need to have funds available, or get laid off, like we've seen through COVID, funds available to get me through that until I can get another position. So from a retirement standpoint, that's really not the case, because you have lost your job. That's the whole idea, right? Now in retirement, hopefully you've got a plan that's designed to replace that income already. Right. So that isn't the concern. It's more of having liquid funds available for either the emergencies. So the furnace, the AC went out, or something happened to the car, whatever it is, or some opportunity. Maybe you are looking for a new car, or there's a RV you've been watching and want to, put a down payment on it or buy it, or whatever it happens to be. So to me, that's more the emergency fund concept in retirement is those kind of funds available, liquid available for either opportunities and or emergencies. And a lot of it too comes down to your comfort level.
Yeah,
because I have some clients that they're like, I'm not worried about the emergencies. We've got the money built in. I don't want to have money sitting in the bank. It drives me crazy getting 0.5% or less on the money in the bank.
Right, right.
But I have other clients that they need 20 or 30 or whatever their number is in the bank at all times, just because that's what they're comfortable with.
Okay.
So, so a lot of it comes back to that comfort level too of what do you want available.
Yeah, you got that boat we were talking about and you hit a sandbar and you put a hole in it.
Yeah. Now you got a big insurance claim and there's a deductible. And
Exactly. All right. So we're doing the 4 milestones. So number 4 here, this kind of feels like you could easily have put it in with number 2. So I'll be curious as to your thoughts, or if maybe you would substitute this for something else. But it is that you have no revolving debt.
And we touched on that, a little bit, I think, in number 2, but and I wouldn't say no, revolving debt. I mean, revolving debt typically is a credit card.
Okay.
Because credit cards are a very useful tool if you're using them the right way.
Yeah.
The challenge is having a balance on that credit card, right?
Go back to number 2 and just the controlled spending. You have a little bit.
Yeah, it comes back to control your spending. I mean, if you're carrying balances consistently on a credit card, that's a problem, because you're now effectively spending, like we talked about in number 2, that future income, which you don't have necessarily future income in retirement. You've probably, or hopefully, planned that out. You understand, here's the income we need and where it's coming from.
Okay.
So that's the only caveat I'd say with revolving debt, not to not have it unless it's something you struggle with. If you have trouble keeping that zero balance and not overspending, then maybe you shouldn't have a revolving card. But there's a lot of clients that use it. I use it for benefits, right? I mean, there's a lot of perks you can get by charging.
I was going to say, a lot of people love to do that. Yeah.
Yeah. And frankly, they're, to me, a credit card safer than having a debit card, because there's somebody in between you and your money, and that's that credit card company that if somebody gets a hold of your number, at least you're not on the hook right away they haven't taken the money out of your account. So there's buffer. So, and again, know yourself, right? Know yourself, know your spending, be honest with yourself to, and maybe even sometimes it's like, I've got 2 credit cards. I want to get rid of one just to kind of keep that one. Take a look at the fact that maybe one has a really high limit, and that's just, to me, that might open the door to say, well, I could put more on here, or whatever the case is, So what do you mean? I still have, they accepted it, so it's good. Yeah, there's still $17,000 left I could charge on that. Yeah, don't do that. Like my wife used to say, what are you talking about? I still got checks in the checkbook, right? There you go. Anything you think is missing? She's watching. Yeah, that's right. So anything you think is missing from this USA Today list of 4 milestones that say you're ready for retirement, would you add something? You've been doing this for many, many years. Anything you think is a key indicator that you need to check off as a milestone? Yeah, I'd say having a plan, because these are all great indicators that, okay, you're controlling and have a better understanding of your finances, right. But at the end of the day, that's the first step. Next is you actually have to have a plan to say, do I have enough, and how much am I going to spend, and where's the money going to come from? Because now I have lost my job, so to speak, and I better have some kind of plan of where I'm going to get this income, and is it going to last my lifetime? All right, folks. So that's going to do it for the bulk of our podcast this week. Again, 4 milestones that say you're ready for retirement. Do you have a plan? If you do not, reach out to Phil, have a conversation with him. Call 248-888-7530. If you're, of course, listening to this on audio form, I'm going to mention the fact that you can see it on the screen. Doesn't apply to you, but go to YouTube and give us a subscribe while you're there, and then you can watch us in video form. 248-888-7530 is the number to call if you have questions or concerns. Before you take any action, you should always check with a qualified professional. Like Phil, he's a CPA and a personal financial specialist at AFS Wealth Management, serving the Metro Detroit area. Go to afswealthmgt.com. Again, I'll put that on the screen also for our video viewers, afswealthmgt.com. And you can go to the website. You can click on the podcast page. You can subscribe to us. You can check him out on Facebook. Just lots of ways that we're going to try to continue to get you some content as you are thinking about getting near approaching retirement, all those things that, hopefully are going to be fun. Eventually that's going to be the fun time in life. At least that's what we hope it to be. And having a plan certainly will help that be a little bit less stressful
understanding what you have in front of you and what you're going to be able to accomplish. So keep listening to the show. Subscribe to us now on YouTube or Spotify or Apple Podcasts or Google Podcasts, however you like to get your content. You can also check out Phil on Facebook as well, and we'll have all that information up on the screen for those folks, as well as in the show notes on audio form for those different podcasts, or as well on the YouTube page. And with that, we're going to say goodbye this week. Phil, thank you so much as always for being here on Phil's Tax Hacks and Other Retirement Facts. For Phil, I'm Mark Killian. We'll see you next time here on the program. Stay safe.
Investment advisory services offered through AFS Wealth Management. The content of this program is provided for informational purposes only and is not a solicitation or recommendation of any investment strategy. Investments and/or investment strategies involve risk, including the possible loss of principal. There is no assurance that any investment strategy will achieve its objectives.